Lesson 70 is all about reducing fractions before multiplying. Now typically when we look at a problem like this where we simplify 5/6 times 1/5, we know we multiply straight across the top. 5 times 1, that's 5, and 6 times 5, that's 30. Then we'd have to reduce. Then we're going to divide by 5/5, a fraction equal to 1, and we get an answer of 1/6. And we're all done. That's the correct answer for this problem. But what we're going to look at is how we can take this problem, 5/6 times 1/5, remember the dot is the same thing as the time sign, and we're going to simplify it before we multiply. Now remember, order of multiplication doesn't matter. So in this problem we could have 5/6 times 1/5, which is the same thing as 1/6 times 5/5. Because we could change the position of the 5, because 5 times 1, or 1 times 5, is still 5. When that happens, look, we now have 5/5, and 5/5 is exactly the same as 1 over 1. We know that's a fraction equal to 1. So when we do that, well, we know we've got 1 times 1, that's 1. 6 times 1, that's 6. And look, we got the same answer. The same answer as we did before, we just did it a different way. We didn't have to multiply up to bigger numbers and then divide down. We simplified before we multiplied to get our final answer straight away. If we looked at this one more time, 5/6 times 1/5, you don't have to rearrange like we did in this middle step, because you can cancel out the 5's. 5 over 5 is the same thing as 1 and a 1. You can go across from each other. So we get an answer of 1 times 1, that's 1. 6 times 1, that's 6. We've got 1/6, our same answer. Whenever we can reduce fractions before we multiply by finding fractions that can be reduced, it's going to make our answer a lot easier to get to, and we won't have to divide in the end. Let's look at some more examples. We're going to simplify 1 1/9 times 1 1/5. We know that with mixed numbers we have to change them to improper fractions. So 1 1/9, that's the same thing as 10/9. 1 1/5, that's the same thing as 6/5. So let's see what we can simplify. Now when we look at this, we know 5 goes into 10 two times. So the 10 is going to become a 2, and the 5 is going to become a 1, because 10 divided by 5 is the same thing as 2 divided by 1. Now we can also see there's a 6 and a 9. Both of those are divisible by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we've simplified everything before we multiply. Let's see what our answer is. We get 2 times 2, that's 4. We get 3 times 1, that's 3. And we know 4/3, that's going to be equal to 1 1/3. So we have our final answer. This was the easiest way we could have done the problem. Now another way we could have done this problem if we didn't want to simplify before we multiply, we could have said 10/9 times 6/5. We know 10 times 6 is 60. 9 times 5 is 45. Then we're going to have to divide both numbers by 5/5. 60 divided by 5, do you know what that is? That's 12. 45 divided by 5, that's 9. Then we've got to divide again. Both of them are divisible by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 9 divided by 3 is 3. We've got 4/3. We get our final answer of 1 1/3. Same thing as we had before. Exact same thing. Different method. Personally, I like the top method of simplifying before you multiply. You can see the multiplication is easier. There was no division in the end because we were fully reduced before we did the multiplication. Both of them get the same answer, but simplifying before you multiply is quicker. We've got one more problem. We've got 5/6 divided by 5/2. Now we know when we're dividing fractions that we've got to copy dot flip. So we're going to get 5/6 times 2/5. Now when we copy dot flip here, you might be able to see right away. We can simplify before we multiply. 5/5, that's the same as 1 over 1. And 2/6, well 2/6, we know 2/6. 2/6, if we wrote it on top of each other, is equal to 1/3. So 2/6 is going to be 1/3. And now we can figure out our answer. Our answer is going to be 1 times 1, that's 1, and 3 times 1, that's 3. It only takes us that one step to find our final answer when we simplify before we multiply. We'll practice this some more in our lesson practice, page 371. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.